absolutely ripping and trying to bounce back, and it did. It not only bounced back, but absolutely exploded to the upside. It actually gained about 4% yesterday after that selling that we had seen on Monday. So what was really leading this whole thing? Well, you look over at the technology side of things. Tesla was up about 19% yesterday, so that was an incredible run to the upside that we were witnessing there. The biotechs, take a look at Moderna, take a look at Illumina, those names as well. You look at the biotech index, it was up about 6%. You look over at the tech index, up about 4%. And let's not forget about the semiconductors that had been getting hammered, absolutely screaming to the upside yesterday, up 6.5%. Names like Marvell up 11%. So a very, all of the NASDAQ components all pushing, and that really did force this move that we'd seen that was extraordinary yesterday, this 4% move to the upside. Dow hanging in there as well. By the way, DocuSign, Zoom, Baidu, Peloton, PayPal, a lot of the names that have been getting sold did get a little bit of a rally as well. So that combination just adds to the strength of what we were seeing yesterday. So the volatility index, yes, it was trading between 23 and 25. It was interesting because it seems like, to me at least, that with the movements that we were seeing, maybe that's just a little bit low, but we'll see. We actually closed somewhere in the 23s. Volume did come back once again. We talked about volume being absolutely unbelievable last week. A little bit quieter this week. Yesterday traded about 38.5 million, which is crazy for me to say that's slow, but based upon the kind of run rate that we are on presently this year, 2021, that is a little bit slow because our averages are well above that. So it felt like it was a little bit slower, and it was, but the size volumes was something that really did stand out yesterday. There was, in many cases, some really large trades and across a multiple of different stocks. And so it was spread off. As a matter of fact, Tesla and Apple were the only two that were in the million contract club yesterday. So that says something. You take a look at crude. Now, it wasn't too many days ago. It pushed 68. Then suddenly we were sitting there closer to 64. And so that was part of what was playing on. Obviously, when you look over at the 10-year down about 3%, that was something that was influencing the markets as well. So energy, sort of a little bit of a lag yesterday, obviously with crude. Today, pre-markets, kind of interesting because the NASDAQ, it wasn't in the red deep, but it was in the red to start the day. And matter of fact, the Dow was actually sitting there looking like it was going to be up about 100 points. Nothing big either side of that. But we open and suddenly the NASDAQ's up 170 points. And you look over at the Dow, also up about 235 points and building on that. And then suddenly up 300 points. And you look over and you quickly see that the NASDAQ's kind of hanging in there. Now it's starting to give that back a little bit. We were up 150 points. I'm just taking a quick look. It's now up 60 points. As a matter of fact, the Dow up about 250 points, both coming back a little bit, but it looked like the NASDAQ almost was going to maybe make a move back towards that flat line. Didn't happen, but at least didn't happen yet. We are only 1 hour into the trading day. So what's really leading the markets today? Well, you look over at the financials, you look at energy, you look at materials. In the financial world, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Capital One, those names all trading very nicely early on. Energy, Exxon, BP, Chevron. We are seeing some huge ETF paper as well in the energy space. So that sort of adds to things. Look over at the materials. Alcoa has been on an absolute tear to the upside for a period of time now. Materials, we know, have been doing that as well. Freeport Mac actually after taking a little bit of a break, having a pretty nice bounce as well. So all of that comes together, and then suddenly we look back over at the technology side of things. Tesla absolutely early on, out of the gate, ripping to the upside along with NVIDIA. As a matter of fact, the interesting thing was there were very few of the major market cap stocks that were significantly into the red today. You know, usually there's this mix and you've got this, number of stocks here that are going to the upside, but these are going to the downside. And yeah, there's an imbalance here and there, but there was very few names that actually were down anything significant except for GE. And GE was down about 5% early. So that was about the only meaningful move. And I just thought that stood out for me. So I thought that was worth pointing out. So yesterday, we're going to get into the unusual right now. So yesterday, we talked about NEO. That was trading around 37.50, somewhere in that range. Early today, it was trading in the 44s. We also talked about NVIDIA. That was trading 488. That got up and it was trading near 520 this morning. Then it did have a little bit of a pullback. So what I'm doing is just giving you the idea that, hey, look, we talk about discipline here at Market Rebellion all the time. we take what they give us. And if things happen faster than maybe expected, we have to react. So I'm just pointing that out, that you've got to have a strategy of exits, whether they're good or bad trades, because we all have all of those. But you've got to have sort of that exit strategy and be disciplined about that. We had Tesla yesterday, as a matter of fact, for unusual when we were on the halftime report. That thing absolutely screamed. When we hit the unusual option activity, that stock was trading between 600 and about 612. And that's when they had the buying. And then suddenly this morning, we see the stock actually back up and over 700. So a really big, sharp, rapid move to the upside there. So I also talk a lot about, and Steph and I were talking about this yesterday on the halftime report, was Boeing. Now, Boeing really has been unbelievable of late. And if I go back and I look, which I just did, we've had a lot of option paper in there. It's been more right than wrong of late. There's been a few that didn't pan out, but certainly a lot of option paper this week, specifically going towards expiration of this week. I got one right now for you. 15,000 of the this week expiring 240 calls. Those were going for $1.50 up to about $3. The stock in Boeing at the time was trading $236.50. I always want to point that out, because where was the stock? What are the prices people were paying? And that sort of gives you at least a guideline of, you know what, that's already made a move, blah, 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 whatever. You have to go through that and make your own decisions, obviously, in everything that you're doing. But I'm just pointing out that did stand out. That one is, we've seen Boeing, we've seen it time and time again, and this specific one, another sizable trade. So, FuelCell. Now, this one's pretty interesting as well, because you go back to February 23rd, and they were buying the March 15 calls in FuelCell, FCEL. So that was pretty interesting, because then today, what are they doing? Well, stock's trading just about 17, just under 17. They're buying more of these March 15 calls. Now this is unusual, because normally we see at the money or just out of the money call buying. These are in the money call buying. So rather than, at least the interpretation that we are using is, rather than buying stock, they can leverage and get a high delta option and buy these March 15s. 21,000 of these March 15s were trading in FuelCell for a price of about $3. So they're just a little bit of premium trading in these. A lot of the time, people are just looking for different ways that they can leverage something, and that's probably what we're seeing here. So that's adding to the exact same trade that they did back on February 23. So if this is going over the top of your head, don't worry about it. I'll tell you what, knowledge is king. We got the best in the business. They can educate you, and that's exactly what the Market Rebellion education side does. They really help people out. We got webinars. They do all this kind of wonderful stuff. But you will not have a great experience for a long period of time if you don't have the knowledge. So you do want to have that knowledge of the derivative markets. As I say, we're on a real slow streak now, because we've had a couple of days that are only 38 million a day, especially when you look back just to 2 years ago and you're looking for record numbers that were 20 million a day. This is still really, really active, but you've got to have that knowledge. Folks, have a great day of trading. Best of luck to you. We'll talk to you soon.